Oh, crunch. Darren Jolly copped one right across the bridge of the nose from young Ben Stratton. It was a hard hit, and to his credit, he came back on about 3 or 4 minutes later, but he is feeling the worse for wear today. Doesn't look all that flash, and we really appreciate Heath Shaw stepping in for Darren on 1 week at a time. Thank you very much. We do appreciate it.
No worries.
It's not a good look, apparently.
No, it doesn't look too good. He was like, you can't even really recognise him a little bit with that eye, and he's got a few stitches on his nose, so it wouldn't have been a good look for the kids to come on tonight.
He'll be all right?
Yeah, he'll be fine. He'll be fine.
It was a big clunk, wasn't it?
Ooh. It was interesting. I watched the trainer who came out and blood was pouring. Look at the trainer. He's not prepared to put it on his nose because I think he knows he'll get a burst from the big fella if he hurts him.
And Heath, just on Darren Jolly and Luke Ball in particular, I know they've made a huge impact on the field, but what about off the field in regards to leadership and the direction they've given the club? Yeah,
I think both of them have come from pretty big leadership roles at their previous clubs, and I think Bally was captain of St Kilda, and their knowledge of the game and their professionalism that they brought to the club is been amazing. And I think Joel's coming from Sydney, and they've got a really good leadership group up there. He's showed us a lot, and he's come into our leadership group and showed us a few things that we maybe need to improve on as well.
Could I ask you an example of what that might be?
I think he's very straight down the line, Joel's, and he doesn't beat around the bush too much, and even in our leadership meetings, he challenges everyone, and he wants everyone to challenge him as well. So he's been really good for us this year.
Very much what Sydney really stood for, and they brought in the leading teams really in regards to standing up at each other. But in terms of the Crows and the Hawks, Adelaide Crows last week just got over the line. Hawthorn have beaten you. Have you noticed in the last 2 weeks opposition teams throwing something different at you, seeing your dominance over the last sort of second part of the year?
Yeah, I suppose our form the last 2 weeks hasn't been as good as it has previous. But I think Adelaide showed on the weekend. They beat St Kilda, so they're still a pretty good team, and they're very well drilled, and the same as Hawthorn. And we were a little bit off their game, but total credit to those two teams to take it up to us, and they played really good football on the weekend.
Heath, how did you feel going into the game, knowing that not too much depended on it, like it was a dead rubber, in effect?
Lots to lose, nothing much to gain.
Yeah, so how did you feel about going into a game where it didn't really matter that much?
I suppose you're always sort of looking good, and you're always looking, you got one eye on that first final against the Bulldogs, but every player goes out there, and every time you go out there, you want to win. And we wanted to test our structures against another finals team, which was Hawthorn. And some things worked, some things didn't. So that's something for us to learn from that game. And obviously full focus this week on Western Bulldogs.
Your own role, have you been playing more midfield than half-back in the last month or so? Yeah,
I think coming back from having a couple of weeks off injury, getting a bit more game time in my legs and playing on the wing a little bit more has been a good experience. Played a little bit there in the pre-season, but just went back to half-back for the start of the year and had that opportunity now to add another sort of string to my bow on the wing and see how we go.
Heath, we can't let you go without asking about the goal kicking and what is going wrong at Collingwood, because, to be honest, it could cost you a premiership or a big game like on Saturday night.
Yeah, I think those stats weren't too good. You showed up before. It's something that I suppose as an individual, everyone works on their own goal kicking. We've sort of let ourselves down in our set shots. Some games we've been pretty good. Some games we've been really bad. But as long as we're getting the ball in there and we're having shots on goal, that's a positive. And I think hopefully this week we can just turn that around. And
Nathan Buckley's your forward line coach?
He is.
Surely he has to take responsibility.
Yeah, I think you can blame him if you want. I was pretty happy with my set shot on the weekend, so I might have a few tips for the other boys as well.
We've got an interesting graphic on how their accuracy falls away in a game.
Yeah, well, we weren't aware of this, but it came to our attention in the first quarter. Pretty accurate, and sixth in the AFL. Second quarter, about the same, but then it drops away third and fourth.
Is that getting tired, or...?
Well, we don't know. Like, Matty and I discussed the fact that when you go forward, you do take the ball fairly wide on many occasions, so obviously that narrows the width of the goals. Yeah, definitely. I suppose that could contribute to it, but you still expect to kick every goal. Every time you have a set shot, you expect to kick the goal. You're playing at top level, so you want your forwards to be able to kick goals, and yeah, it's something that obviously we need to work on, but
same breath, we're getting it in there and we're having shots on goal, which is a good thing as well.
I saw Liam Jarrah play on the weekend, and I think his kicking technique is spot on with the way he's playing. This one here is just about poise and balance, not rushing. We saw Clokey indoors have snaps on goal, really rushed it, but I love his set shot here. He sets his sights on the target, then at the last minute he watches the ball drop and he's running in straight and kicking the ball straight. This is the perfect technique. I hadn't really studied it since the weekend, but I think, you know, Travis is hardly watching the ball at the moment, and you see his accuracy, 29 this season overall, and from set shots, 12 goals, 3, and that's how crucial goal-kicking routine is, and a lot of Collingwood players and players around the competition don't have one, and it's really crucial. And Alan Didak, one of your good mates, he's one of the best exponents of it at Collingwood. Talk is his shoulder maybe is a bit worse than first thought. No,
I think Dids will be back this week, and as you said, I think he is. If you had someone kicking for your life in our team, it'd be a toss-up between him and Tark and Lockyer, because the way they go about it and their technique is really good, and just that relaxed approach. I think that's the main thing. If you're relaxed in your approach, then you just let it flow. And I think Liam Jarrah's technique's pretty similar to mine as well.
Heath, the Magpies have had a really good year and ended up getting on top of the ladder, and crowds to your games, lots of publicity, big lift out in the age on the weekend. Is anything less than a premiership acceptable to the club this year?
I suppose when you finish on top of the ladder, there's a fair bit of pressure on you, but from the start of the year, we aimed at a premiership. I think we did the same thing last year. We come out and we said we want to win a premiership. For that to happen, you have to make the finals, and we believe we could do that. And to finish on top of the ladder this year is a bonus. But we feel we're in a really good position at the moment to have a crack at a premiership. And this week's the start of that. We've got a 4-week campaign. If we get through this week, we get ourselves into a preliminary final, and that's one step closer.
I'll ask you a quick couple of quickies. Simon Prestigiacomo, there's talk that he might have had surgery on a clot in the thigh. Is he going to be OK this week?
Yeah, Presti will train on Wednesday, and if he gets through that, then he'll play.
So he had a little op?
No op. I think he had a really badly corked thigh. So,
OK.
Yeah.
OK, the two talking points. Josh Fraser, did he do enough to keep his place, or is Lee Brown going to come back in?
I'm not sure. It's a hard one. Fraser coming back off 12 weeks in the reserves is pretty difficult. So he had a few good hit-outs, and I think the boys were saying in the midfield that they liked him.
His ruck work was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, I thought he rucked really well. I think he had more hit-outs than anyone on the ground.
He did, yep.
And I don't know, did Mick Malthouse, the coach, say that he was to have a fair crack at the ruck? Because Darren Jolly rucked the least that he has in any game this year. It seemed to me like Josh was given every opportunity to have a real go at being the ruckman.
Yeah, I think he did. I think Mick wanted to give him that crack, and it's good to get, if a guy's coming back up from reserves level, to get him in there early and crack at it. And yeah, Fraser's pretty good on the weekend.
Just having a look at Jolly's, the amount of time that he was in the ruck, 55%. He's normally well above that, because Lee Brown doesn't do anything like 44% of the ruck work. So I thought Josh was given every chance, and that's a good thing. He played his 200th game, so that's an achievement. How many have you got up?
110 or something like that, I think. I'm not quite sure.
What about Leon Davis? There's always been criticism, the fact that he can't fire in big games. He was put out there on Saturday, wasn't he? How did you think he went?
I thought he was probably a 6 out of 10.
Yep.
Kicked a couple of goals. You know, his tackling wasn't all that good in that instance there.
Do you think he's in your best 22?
Yeah, I think he is. I think Leon's pressure, his forward pressure, he set the standard at the start of the year, and I think he's a vital part of our 22, and especially his leadership in that forward line. And
especially against the Dogs, as his record against the Dogs is very good.
They've got a good problem on their hands, Collingwood, because Didak, Lee Brown, Johnson and Prestigiacomo, you'd think are in their best 22, so you'd think the players under pressure are probably McCarthy, Fraser, Davis, and then it's just that last position, you know, Ben Reid, or Prestigiacomo, I suppose, who you go for, but they've both had really solid years. But I'm sure the boys had a bit of fun with the Will Young award. I'm not sure if they were doing a bit of talk. What about the negating role? You've copped it a lot. Nick Maxwell does, Harry O'Brien. What's the best way to counter someone playing that type of role?
I suppose if you're stopping your man, that's a start. Like if you're stopping him and he's not getting a kick, that's the first thing you got to worry about. After that, if he's following you everywhere, then you try and put yourself in a position where you're going to be a bit of a hassle. this week, if it happened, you'd probably set yourself in front of Barry Hall, Jared Grant coming out from full forward, maybe put yourself 30 metres out. But it is tough, and Harry's the last 2 weeks has had a pretty difficult job with those guys, but he's learnt from that, and I suppose when you've got myself, Harry and Maxie, you can't really play 3 negating roles, so hopefully one of us gets loose and is able to do some damage.
Another break on 1 week at a time, and some unbelievable pieces of soccer work on the weekend, Rob. 3 cracking soccer goals.
All on the 1 weekend.
In fact,
just
make it
amazing.
4.
Yeah, just amazing. Cyril.
2nd week in a row. Luke Shuey.
Yes.
Not bad.
But there's better to come.
Brody Moles. This is a beauty.
Well, he meant that, didn't he? Nice little chip off the ground.
And a goal of the year contender, Lyndon Dunn.
Well, have a look out how far out he is. He's a good 35, 40 metres out, and he kicks that in mid-air. We marvelled at Cyril Rioli's kick